We are back in Visual Studio. I have already included the library we need for this project in the project folder, as you can see here. And I have created my main.cpp. It's already empty. So all we need to do now is including the library and start coding to create our first triangle. So I start by including the libraries I need first. I need to include GLAD. Then I need to include GLFW. And then for input and output purposes, I just include IOStream. Then we need to create our main function that returns 0. Then we need to initialize GLFW library, which is the library should be called before other GLFW functions. So we just type GLFW init and we initialize that one. And next step would be write a line that it sets a hint for GLFW, that which version of GLFW we are using. So in order to do that, we just type GLFW Windows hint, and it accepts two parameters. And the first parameter would be the version major, which is GLFW underscore context version major, capital major, and the value, which the version we're using is 3. It should be version. So here version, yeah. Then we go to GLFW Windows hint, and we need to have major and minor. GLFW context version and minor, also 3. Typo again, minor. And then we need to set up the OpenGL core profile, which you remember we created in GLAD website. Then we just type GLFW hint GLFW OpenGL profile, and we call it GLFW OpenGL core profile. Great. And now we need to declare a pointer to GLFW window, and we just type GLFW window and we create a pointer to it. We call it window, and then we need to create GLFW create the window, and this function accepts some arguments as an input, and we need width, height, title, monitor, and share, and we can just directly pass the values here, which for example 800 to 600 pixels for the window, or we can create constant values for them on top of main. So we can just type constant value because they're integer values with unsigned integer, so I can call it a screen. For example, width is equal 800, constant unsigned integer screen height is equal 600. And then we just go back down and and we enter these values instead. So we just type screen height, screen width, screen height, and then we need to write the title, and we write it triangle window. This is gonna be the title of our window, and then for the rest of them we just input null. Yep, great. So then we need to check if the windows is created or not, and we can just write an if condition here. If the window is true, or if window is null or it's not true, I mean it's not created, then it means the pointer doesn't point to anything. So then we can just write a cout error message that window is not created, and maybe std line. Then we can just terminate the glfw terminate, and then we just return -1. We don't return 0. 0 is success. So yeah, that's it. So if the windows is not created, then we get an error message and exit. Then we need to make the context, then we need to create a glfw make context window. So we just type glfw, yeah. So it's just making the context of the specified window current for the calling thread. It's creating a thread for the current window we created. Then we just pass in the window pointer here. And then, yeah, then we need to basically try to see if this one works. I think everything's fine. Yep, and the window just popped up and closed because we don't have the whole code, so it's working. Perfect. Now we need to include OpenGL libraries, or what they call them, function pointers, and we have to use glad to do that. This is just for loading the function pointers, and we can do that by typing if not glad. We want to load GL loader, and this function accepts a parameter which is glfw get process address, so returns the address of a specified function for the current context. And yeah, we're getting an error because GL loader, it needs a parameter type of glad load proc. So we just need to cast it here. Glad load control, and if we cast it this way, it should be fine. Still getting an error message here. Oh, I have parentheses here is correct. Oh, all right. So now all you need to do is just write a message to see if we were successful in loading the function pointers. You just write std cout failed to init glad, maybe std line, and then again we return -1. Okay, great. Test again. No problem, seems to be working here. And then we continue with our code. We need to create a loop, so to run the window in a loop. So we continue with that. All right, so save the project. Now we're gonna write our while loop, and in this while loop we need to write a condition until the user not close the window, keep running this loop, right? So to do that, we need to call glfw window should. So glfw window should close. It checks the close flag of the specified windows. This function returns the value, blah, 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 right? So we want to check the window that we just created. If this window is not closed, keep going. All right, so we need another parenthesis here. Perfect. And here we need to do some processes here, right? So first process we have to do is to define a color for our background. All right, so we can just type gl clear color. Okay, and here we pass some arguments in, so RGB and alpha, and these are float values, GL floats. So just put some float values, 0 and maybe 0.2 and alpha 1. Great. Then we need to clear the buffer, GL clear, GL clear, and here we have to GL beautified mask. We have to pass in GL color buffer bit. Okay, so I can call this loop a render loop. Okay, maybe I can just write some comments here. This is glfw init and configuration. Then here loading OpenGL function pointers. Okay, we go back here, and now we need to swap buffers to pull events if we have created events. So just to finish up this part, we just type glfw swap buffers, and we call our window here, window. We can also just call glfw pull event. If there is any event, then we will talk about the events like input output events. and this function is gonna manage that, all right? So this one processes all the pending events. All right, then after we come out of the loop, we just need to terminate the GLFW, and then we exit the program when the user closes the windows, for instance. Great, so let's give it a try and see how it goes. Yeah, beautiful, it's working. This is the title of the window. This is the size, 800 to 600. Okay, and yeah, and this is the color we just defined here, RGB, so it's mostly red. All right, perfect.